In today's video, the story of Job, when faith is tested. Before I proceed, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Chapter 1, A Righteous Man in Uz. In the land of Uz lived a man named Job. He was known across the region not for his wealth, though he had plenty, but for his character. Job was blameless and upright, a man who feared God and shunned evil. His life was a portrait of righteousness. He was respected in the city gates, loved by his servants and admired by his peers. Job had been blessed abundantly. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, all of whom lived in harmony and feasted regularly together. His livestock numbered in the thousands: 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 female donkeys. Many servants worked under him, and his household was among the greatest in all the East. But Job's devotion to God was his most striking trait. After each feast his children held, Job would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings for each of them. He thought, "Perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." He interceded for them not out of obligation, but love and fear of the Lord. Chapter 2, A Conversation in the Heavens. One day, in a realm unseen by human eyes, the angels of God gathered before the throne, and among them came Satan, the accuser. The Lord said to him, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered, "From roaming through the earth, going back and forth in it." Then the Lord said, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him, blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." Satan sneered, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not placed a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord replied, "Very well then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." And so began the great test. Chapter 3, A Storm of Sorrow. Job was unaware of the heavenly exchange. His life continued in peace until tragedy came like a tidal wave. One day, a messenger ran to Job breathless. The oxen were plowing, the donkeys grazing nearby, and the Sabaeans attacked and carried them off. They killed the servants, and I alone escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another came. Fire of God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I alone have escaped. Before he finished, a third arrived. The Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on the camels. They killed the servants. I alone survived. And then, the final blow, another messenger came with trembling lips. Your sons and daughters were feasting in their oldest brother's house. A mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed. They are all dead. I alone escaped to tell you. Job fell to the ground, but he did not curse. He tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell in worship, crying, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrongdoing. Chapter 4, Flesh and Bone. Again, the angels assembled before God. Satan also came. The Lord said, "Have you considered Job? Even though you incited me against it without cause, he still maintains his integrity." Satan replied, "Skin for skin. A man will give all he has for his own life. But stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will curse you to your face." The Lord said, "Very well. He is in your hands, but you must spare his life." Then Satan afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Job sat among ashes, scraping himself with a broken piece of pottery. Even his wife turned against him. "Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die." But Job replied, "Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. Chapter 5, The Long Silence. 3 of Job's friends heard his calamity and came to console him: Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. When they saw him from a distance, they scarcely recognized him. They wept, tore their robes, and sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights. No one spoke a word, for they saw his grief was very great. Then Job broke the silence. May the day of my birth perish. Why did I not perish at birth, or die as I came from the womb? Job poured out his anguish, not as rebellion, but as deep sorrow. His friends, however, misunderstood. Chapter 6. Friends Who Wound. Eliphaz spoke first. Consider this, Job, who that was innocent ever perished. Your suffering must be because of sin. Return to God, and you will be restored. Job answered, If only my grief could be weighed. Your words are like wind. Teach me, and I will be silent. But do not assume guilt where there is none. Then Bildad said, If your children sinned, he gave them over to their sin. But if you are pure, God will restore you. Job replied, Truly, I know this is so, but how can a mortal be righteous before God? Zophar, less patient than the others, rebuked Job harshly. Oh, how much worse your punishment will be if God gave you all you deserve. Repent, and your life will shine again. One by one they accused. Again and again Job defended. He questioned, he mourned, he pled for an audience with God. He believed in his innocence and longed for understanding. Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on the earth. Chapter 7. The Voice in the Whirlwind. Eventually, a younger man named Elihu spoke. He was angry at Job for justifying himself rather than God, and at the three friends for condemning Job without wisdom. He argued that suffering may not be punishment but discipline, and that God speaks through pain, dreams, and even silence. And then a storm gathered. Out of the whirlwind, God himself spoke. Who is this that darkens counsel with words without knowledge? Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Have you ever given orders to the morning? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Do you give the horse its strength, or clothe the neck with mane? Job listened in silence as the Lord displayed his majesty of creation, life, weather, and the mysteries of the universe. God did not give Job the answers he longed for. Instead, he gave Job a vision of his glory. Chapter 8. A Humbled Heart. Then Job answered the Lord, I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. Surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself, and repent in dust and ashes. God turned Eliphaz and said, I am angry with you and your two friends, because you have not spoken the truth about me as my servant Job has. Take 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to Job. My servant will pray for you. Job prayed for his friends, and God accepted his prayer. Chapter 9. Restored and Blessed. After Job interceded for his friends, God restored his fortunes, twice as much as before. His brothers and sisters returned to comfort him and gave him gifts. Job had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 donkeys. He also had 7 more sons and 3 beautiful daughters. The daughters were so fair that no women in the land were found equal to them. And in a rare honor, Job gave them an inheritance along with their brothers. Job lived another 140 years, long enough to see his children and their children to the 4th generation. And then he died, old and full of days. Epilogue. When faith is tested. Job's story is more than a tale of suffering. It is a testimony to the mystery of God's providence and the depth of true faith. It shows us that righteous people may suffer deeply. God's purposes are often beyond human understanding. Faith is not built on blessings, but trust, even in silence. Restoration often comes not as expected, but as grace. Job did not get all his questions answered, but he saw God, and in that he found peace. When faith is tested, it is not to destroy, it is to refine. And in the end, Job's story is not about suffering, but about worship.